We are tonight's entertainment.
You can't handle the truth.
The fire rises.
Pizza time.
You're a wizard, Harry.
So it begins.
You know how much I sacrifice?
You think that's air you're breathing?
Groovy.
I don't have friends. I got family.
We are Saxophone! 1, 2, 3, 4!
Craft Services.
Hi, Parth.
Hey, Trent. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you? You're looking well.
Thank you. You as well. We just talked for like half an hour. It was a fun little chat.
Yeah, we had to. Are the Zoom meetings limited to 1 hour? So we left our original one because we were such chatterboxes and started a new one in fear of running out of time. Even though this intro isn't going to take 30 minutes at all. I don't like to feel rushed, Parth.
Well, it might not take 30 minutes, but it would take it could take 13 minutes, and I think we had 12 minutes left.
Yeah, once that ticking clock in the corner starts, once you have 10 minutes left, I think there's a countdown clock. Yeah. And then I really just can't be my flexible, natural, floaty, conversational self with you. And who wants that? Not me. And speaking of talking with one another, what have you eaten most recently?
Wow, well done, Trent. So this morning, I was in Brooklyn shooting feature film yesterday, and then I didn't get home really until 2 a.m.
Is it the feature film that was shot in the room that I'm standing in?
It was, yes. I don't know how much I should say about it, other than to say that friend and past and hopefully future guest of the show, Adam Volerich, is directing it. And a current guest, this episode's guest, is the star of it.
Yes, and I think we can reveal that the star in the movie, this is going to be vague, Parth, his character occupied my room in the real world, but in his diegetic world, it was his room. But Parth texted me the morning of the shoot and was like, change your sheets, bro. Jeff is going to be acting in your bed. So, yeah, star of Yellowstone, Jefferson White, who also appears in part 2 of the Craft Services podcast.
Civil War interview? Yeah.
Civil War interview, directed by Alex Garland. Did not fall unconscious, but was conscious in my bed for a number of hours while acting.
Anyways, I was I got home around 2, so
getting this back on the rails.
I couldn't sleep for a little bit, and then I woke up 10:30, something like that.
AM or PM?
AM.
Okay, cool.
And then I was hungry by 11 o'clock, and we were
AM or PM? All right, I'm done. Sorry, continue.
AM. And we had to record, so I knew I needed something to eat, and I kind of wanted to make avocado toast because friend of the show, Sophia Alexis,
from the Gone Girl episode,
and from all the Mission Impossible episodes, and
she famously gave Gone Girl 1 out of 10.
Yes, 2 out of 10.
2 out of 10. Okay, that's better.
So then, I had my mom buy avocados because Sophia Alexis always makes avocado toast, and I always like it when she makes avocado toast. And then I wanted to make avocado toast, but the avocados, they weren't ripe enough. So I just had a banana instead.
Good source of potassium, I hear.
Okay.
Nice. The last thing I haven't had anything this morning, but what I ate, well, actually, to get technical about it, it was, the clock had surpassed midnight. So
ooh! You have eaten something today.
So technically, we are talking about something I've eaten today. But there was a long, 8-hour pause where I slept. But on the streets of New York, I was telling Parth that me and some recent film grads went to see the Harmony Korine film Aggro Drift. And then I got a chicken gyro on the streets. And the guy said, I always try to ask before, say how much for a chicken gyro, because if you don't ask before, they might throw a crazy number at you once the gyro has already been made. So he said 10, and I said great, and then he made it. And then I handed him my card, and then he did the thing where he was like, I'm tapping it but like I'm keeping it right by me, so like I'm not really gonna show you what's going on here. So and then about halfway through aggro drift, in spoiler alert, it got kind of boring in the middle. I just a passing intrusive thought was like, what if he charged you more than $10? And then at about 3 a.m. last night, I was about to go to bed, and I was like, I have to check my bank statement. And he charged me $12.96.
What the fuck?
Which is like, if he charged me
That's more than the like tax.
Yeah, totally bullshit. If it was like $30, I would like call my credit card company or debit TD Bank. I'm not that fancy, and be like, fucking fix this. But it's like $2. Even though I had a fraud, like an Amazon. I had $7 worth of Amazon charges I didn't recognize, and I went through an embarrassing amount of work to try to get compensated. And then upon doing that, they said, we are going to launch an investigation, and we're going to send you a letter in 60 to 90 business days with our findings. And I was like, this is for $7. But he burnt the chicken, and it didn't taste very good. And upon being asked how it was, I said, this is probably the worst chicken gyro I've ever had. But
Wow.
still, it got me through the movie because
It was so boring.
I was really hungry. Like, once the shtick of we'll talk about this in our aggro drift episode.
Our aggro drift episode that we're gonna do. Anyways, good to
Parth informed me that the movie that movie was only screening in strip clubs for a time, which is interesting. But I saw it at a movie theater. Humble brag. I think I've been talking enough. Want to go to the movie part of the episode?
Yeah. Why don't we cue the intro?
Welcome back to Craft Services, where we talk about the movies. Each week we talk about a film and hopefully have a crew or cast member of that film to talk with us about their experience working on the picture. This week, what happened, Parth?
This week we're continuing our conversation with actor Jefferson White. That's right, folks. You know him as Jimmy Herdstrom from Yellowstone, and also from his role in Civil War. He has a part in it. And I pointed to the screen and went when I saw him in the movie theater, which I did with Trent. Trent was there as well as friend of the show, Sophia Alexis. And yeah, he's a coworker of mine, a boss of mine, and a very, very nice guy. Very lucky to have him on the show, and he gives some interesting insight into Civil War. And honestly, what it's like being an actor, stuff that we don't really usually get into, because it's usually crew members, which is great, obviously. But this is a fun change of pace.
Yeah, Parth and I tried to take a moment and act smart and try to be like, tell us about acting. And then he did. And he actually sounded smart, unlike us.
I know.
But yeah.
I mean, it's not difficult, but yeah.
No. But once again, thanks so much to Jefferson White. Yeah, Parth had an established relationship with you, but this was my first time meeting you, and it was super fun, and you broke the ice, and you were super nice, and then now you lived in my room, and
yeah.
Now we're here, and now this is part 2 of the Jefferson White Civil War interview, I think.
So, like, for that, like, ending conflict, there's a lot of, in the movie, the third act stuff, I guess, to be vague about what happens in the movie. But in that, there's a lot of, explosions and, like, huge scale things. How much of that on set was real for you?
It was there was a tremendous amount of, like, practical effects on set. And there was a fucking staggering amount of VFX. Like, the experience of making it was insane. It was so loud. We all had like 4 layers of earplugs in because they were shooting so there's those tanks. There were like 4 real tanks, which are incredibly loud, just moving. They're incredibly loud. And then they would have these 50 caliber like mounted machine guns on them, just shooting off like bandoliers of blanks. So the noise was absolutely staggering. Like you would feel in that space, you were just constantly feeling the percussive sort of echoes like bouncing off the walls. It was really nuts. So the experience of shooting it was already deeply, deeply chaotic. And then I could not believe how much they layered on top of it. You know, the helicopters, the fucking planes strafing over, a lot of that was VFX. And I thought really well integrated. I was very impressed by the integration of the practical effects with the visual effects. That was a really amazing magic trick.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, the sound design alone in that third act, like we saw it at a Dolby theater, and it was really like, I haven't seen a movie, I mean, I guess since Dune 2, where like the sound was so notable to me.
Man, there's the moment like in between two rows of buildings, this chopper just kind of horrifyingly floats in, and it's got one of those guns that just shoots so fast that the noise is like this weird, that noise was so unsettling. It was such a like inhuman noise. Yeah, amazing. Very upsetting sound design. And then the needle drops, the fucking music. They were having so much fun, like juxtaposing this like horrifying shit with the music. It was really a fascinating approach to sound design.
If I'm not misremembering, the first time you're seen on camera is that like party scene at the house, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much they're supposed to talk about this, but the movie, like an early test screening of the movie that our friend Adam saw was 2.5 hours long. The script of the movie was like 150 pages. So the movie was like really sharpened. I would use the term sharpened to be 1 hour and 40 minutes long. So we did shoot quite a bit of stuff prior to that did not make it into like the final theatrical cut. So I do appear, the scene immediately prior to that is at the water truck that explodes. There's like a sort of moment outside it, and basically there's no dialogue in that sequence anymore. But we filmed quite a bit of there was like 30 pages or something. There was like a first act of the movie that kind of was sharpened into a finer point in the final edit. So my character does appear. You see me a few times in the crowd around the water truck.
I was going to ask if you were there.
Yeah, all of us were. So yeah, Tony and Bohai, the two Chinese journalists, were there as well. There was a lot of sort of like establishing stuff at that water truck that I guess they decided wasn't necessary in the final edit, and I think the final edit is fucking great. So yeah. So all of us were kind of around at that initial sequence, and then we were again in the hotel there.
I was just wondering, we spoke a little bit about the quote chill vibes on set, but to get a little more specific, Alex Garland, very exciting director and stuff. If you could speak about like, seeing their directing style, working with them, stuff like that. What makes them specific?
Yeah, I feel like there's a bunch of different archetypes of directors. Alex is really particularly interesting because I think he was a novelist originally. Like he's very, very smart, and he has a very sort of cool, calm demeanor. I'm always amazed that he makes these very visceral action sequences because he's very chill, very mellow, very dry, and especially under that much pressure, like that kind of set is such a massive pressure cooker for a director. I think I would go insane, and I really admired his ability to stay calm and cool, to sort of, control what he could and let go of the rest. Yeah, and he was very patient. I would say he had a remarkable patience in the way he would sort of move around and give direction, even in those very chaotic environments. And I think he's also really trusting. I think this was like his second or third movie with Rob Hardy, the DP. And so their conversations, I was always really eager when I could overhear little moments of their conversations.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about Rob Hardy because friend of the show, Jackson Clark, whom Jefferson knows quite well at this point, he and I are big Rob Hardy fans. Were you able to talk with him, or even like anything you could listen in on, anything interesting? Because he's, I think, a very underrated director. Shot the best Mission Impossible movie. Just putting that out there, so.
Yeah, he's amazing. And he was a really, I'm always amazed by these guys that are like contradictions, you know, because he has such like an adrenaline pumping style of cinematography. I think he's so fucking good at action. And he was also very calm. And they shot this in a really, I'm always amazed at people who are that established who continue to like innovate, you know, like you'd think you would find a method and then stick with it. But the way they shot this all on these little, I had never seen them before. And I had only heard of them like right before I showed up on set for this. These little DJI like built-in integrated camera gimbals. So they're very small. They basically the whole thing is like you know, it's like the size of a shoebox basically. And they had a ton of these and they would plant operators like around in these scenes. You know, so a lot of the sequence, I don't know if they did this for the entire film because I was only really in those like big sequences, but in those sequences they would dress their camera operators in costume and they would basically plant their camera operators in the crowd. So there was like, I think it feel like they were going for this kind of journalistic feel, this feeling that you're right inside the action. And it also means the camera has like a tiny footprint. So you can get it anywhere. You can get it behind a little piece of cover. You can sort of sneak it in wherever you want to. And I was amazed. I was so curious as an absolute moron. I was looking at those little cameras being like, how could this fucking be an IMAX movie? Like, how could this possibly translate? But it did, man. They shot on these like beautiful little Leica primes on these tiny cameras. And it really like operators running often. A really intense, like you see in the firefight, there's the guys in the Hawaiian shirts doing the firefight, like in that sort of urban warfare sequence. And I think you can really feel the unique opportunities of this workflow in that sequence because the operator is like almost an embedded journalist. They're like tucked in with those guys, peeking around corners and shit. It was really cool. And one of my favorite moments, I got to, you know, I was running around with the camcorder the whole time, shooting on the camcorder. And I would be like shooting these sequences as we were doing it. And then in that big assault on the White House, Alex was finally like, hey, let's just give Jefferson one of these cameras and let him operate one of our cameras for a take. Because there's the moment where the limo, the like presidential limo, it's called the Beast. It's like very, very armored, busts out of that front door and makes a run for it and then gets like sideswiped by a Hummer. And there was this moment where we're like, we think the president is in that car. So we're like running over to the car to try to be the first people to see, you know, the president come out of it. And so I had been shooting that on my camcorder and they were like, hey, let's give Jefferson one of the cameras so he can shoot that run in, you know, like a kind of POV. So that was one of my favorite moments on the set, was just a sort of an opportunity to operate one of those cameras. It was a really, as a just camera nerd myself, it was a very cool, unique experience. It didn't make it into the movie. The shot's not in the movie. I was watching it being like, come on. But no, it wasn't in there.
Well, hopefully they release the white cut of Civil War.
God.
Shots in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The all Jefferson cut.
So I guess wrapping up our Civil War talk, there was a premiere in New York that I was supposed to go to and then did not go to, so that I could record for this podcast.
Oh damn, dude! They held the screening and everything. They were like, "Don't start the panel until Parth gets here."
I was going to ask.
For you. There was a chair for you at the panel. There was like 4 seats in a row. It's like Kirsten Dunst's chair, the Kaylee Spaney chair, the Wagner Moore chair, the Alex Garland chair, and then the fucking Parth chair just sits there empty.
I know. What was it like? Was that the first time you had seen it with an audience? Had you seen any test screenings or anything?
That was the first time I'd seen it, period. Yeah, I hadn't really seen anything. So it was amazing, man. It was in the IMAX format, and that just fucking ruled. The sound is crazy in those spaces. It sounds so good. It was really fun, man. Yeah, that was my first time seeing it. It was fun to see it with Alex there and with the cast there. It was a really cool experience, man.
So we're about to get into the section of the show where we like ask about like the rest of your filmography. But before we do that, if you mentioned the expectation of you like having to wax smart about acting, and so I'll try to ask an acting question, Because this is a rare opportunity to talk to a super cool, talented actor. So we should talk about acting a little, I guess. Do you have like a...
Thanks, man. A second ago, you kept calling my part in the movie really small. So for a little bit there, I felt like we had a bit of like an antagonistic relationship. So this is nice. I feel like we're getting back on, we're getting back on the same team.
I was never against you. But
I'm trying. You guys, this is an opportunity to have a drama podcast. Me and Trent have beef. Okay, no. Let's have a quick.
So you went to acting school and stuff. I don't want to ask if you have like an acting mantra, but is there any piece of like reading on acting or something that's like really connected to you? Because you're not just like, I'm sure you have like an approach to your acting. If you could like speak on that at all.
Yeah, something I've been trying to hold on to lately, because you go through waves. You know what I mean? Like from when I was in school to when I was first working on screen to now, you kind of go through different periods, kind of focusing on different lessons and learning different lessons. So the thing I'm trying to do lately is like, I think for a long time, I was really concerned about squeezing myself into a character. I was really concerned about like, I need to get rid of the parts of myself that aren't this person. And now my new sort of image for it is allowing the character to expand to include all of you, So especially in a movie like this, where like I'm on screen for like 4 minutes or something, It feels like this guy has this whole life that we don't see. It doesn't benefit from me trying to narrow myself. It doesn't benefit from me like, especially in a situation like this on a big movie, the impulse is sometimes to like, okay, I have to like really squeeze and try to control and really try to sort of nail these few moments I have. I don't have a lot to do in this. I really have to fucking get it right. And thinking about getting it right or thinking about like approaching it with fear like that is so antithetical to, I think, a healthy process as an actor. A lot of acting pedagogy across a lot of different disciplines and a lot of different methods has to do with letting go of tension, letting go of like being on set in an environment like this. There's a million things that make you afraid. There's a million things going on set that aren't going on in the movie or in the story. So much acting pedagogy works around letting go of unnecessary tension in your body, in your voice. So my kind of thing lately is just really trying to figure out how to feel at ease and at home on set. Because as I'm sure you guys have experienced, you just can't do your fucking best work at anything if you're afraid. So much of stepping onto a huge set as an actor like me, as a fucking moron from Iowa, there is so much about it that is going to make you insecure, make you a little bit afraid, like create a feeling of pressure and urgency and scarcity. And so much of what I'm trying to do right now is just say, oh, no, man, I belong here. It's all good. It's all easy. This is just like taking a class. It's just like working with my friends. Because tension, it's the fear is the mind killer. Tension is the fucking death of performance. It's everybody across every discipline will tell you that. You can't paint a painting if you're afraid. You can't fucking sing a song if you're afraid. And you can't, for me at least, I have so many performances from early in my career where I watch it and I go, oh, that guy's afraid. He's tense. He's nervous. He's clenching. He's trying to fucking get it right. And I'm really trying to let go of that. And a film like this is a great opportunity because it's an intimidating environment. There's all these fucking amazing actors, these people who I admire very, very much. I'm a big fan of Alex's. To me, I'm not shy about it. Like, it's intimidating to be around these guys. So much of the work for me on set is like, hey, buddy, relax. You're cool. You belong here. They hired you. They want you. All you have to do is be yourself. Allow the character to expand, to contain all of you. You don't have to squeeze yourself into anything. All of you is this guy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Since we've opened up the can of worms of asking about your process as an actor, did that evolve in the switch from theater to film? Because I guess from my perspective, at least, like theater is much more like you're more in it, whereas film is a lot more, and TV is a lot more like short bursts of extreme focus. Was that more difficult then to like achieve that because you've got so much waiting in between to get tense and scared about what's going on? Does that make any sense?
It makes a ton of sense. And I think you're making like actually a really, really smart observation about that. I think that's something that it takes a lot of people, that's not necessarily super intuitive. Like on stage, you have continuous time to settle into it. And you go through moments of tension coming into your body, and then you manage to let go of it. On stage, you're like sort of engaging in an hour and a half long exercise in release and you have time to sort of fucking breathe through it. You have time to pass through the initial shock of standing in front of an audience, to pass through the initial fear and tension of being, vulnerable on stage. And you're totally right that every time cut and action are called, that's a new opportunity for tension to fucking flood in there, for fear to flood in there, So much of the work on set is, for me at least, is trying to stay at ease in between takes and trying to kind of break down the barrier between before action is called and after action is called. This is a dumb one, but, maybe it's just a cliche and maybe everybody's heard this. But something that I really like that I heard one time was that in between takes, Brando would just talk to the camera operator. And then as rolling is called, as action is called, he would continue talking to the camera operator until he would turn and talk to the other person in the scene. So I'm always looking for my own little version of that. I'm like trying to stay at ease on set. I'm always fucking, hopefully not annoying anybody, but I love to make friends. I love to talk to everybody about their job on set. I'm trying to sort of stay at ease so that in between takes, I'm not fucking returning to my weird little lonely mind palace. I'm not like fully checking out, like if I go get on my phone in between takes, I'm completely departing from the story. And then it's so much longer a journey to come back. So when I'm on set, I'm really trying to stay in that state of ease and comfort, That's a great point, Parth. I think that's really like, and it feels like in trying to create an atmosphere that is conducive to performance, a lot of what you can do for your actors is try to create an atmosphere where they feel comfortable on set in a holistic way, where like the whole set is designed for everybody's sake too. It's not just for the fucking actors, it's for everybody. You need everybody to feel at ease and confident so they can do their best work.
One interview, Parth.
I agree, Trent. Thank you so much.
Fun. That was fun. I had fun.
Yeah.
But frankly,
we still. I feel like we left some unfinished business.
Exactly. You took the words out of my mouth. I feel unfulfilled, unsatiated. There's like part of me. It just felt
it's like I wanted avocado toast, and I got a banana, which is good. But I want that toast.
Not what you were looking for. The conversation, it was just like all of a sudden we were talking, and then it's like there was no time for goodbyes, no like final big kahuna, final question. And if you're asking yourself questions like that, you're not crazy. We're not your boyfriend telling you you're crazy. You're not crazy.
Yeah, you're not. There's a part 3 coming out, and it's coming out next week.
Yeah, so we know that there was like a little gap week.
And it was because, and let me just say, it was because Trent, Parth, and Jeff were working together.
So if there's any exception to be made, it's because all parties involved in the construction and release of the episode were consumed by other by their other dedication to the arts.
Yeah,
is that fair? Is that fair to say?
I would say that that's fair to say. But rest assured, next week you will be hearing the epic conclusion to our
the grand finale
to our Jeff White interview. But Trent, even though they're listening to this episode right now, if for some reason they were to have the listener were to have a sort of Born Identity, Memento-esque, like, oh my God, what's happening? And they can't remember where they can catch our episodes. Maybe you could sort of say where they could just right now so that they could, can use this later
This
on.
is a specific instance we're preparing for, but I want everyone to feel included. If you've had a recent head injury, this is for you.
If you used to work for the CIA in a covert black ops division.
Anything along those lines, listen up. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, frankly, wherever you get your podcasts is going to do just fine. And we're going to be on there. And if you find one, if your podcasting platform of choice doesn't have us, let us know.
Yeah.
Frankly, we'd be surprised and embarrassed.
Okay. Well.
But let us know. But moving forward.
And also leave a good review, leave a good...
wow, we've forgotten about that part.
Yeah.
5-star review, leave some positive
Tell your
words.
friends, it actually does help, make our podcast successful, please.
But let's wrap it up talking about our bread and butter, the Instagram and the Twitter. You're going to want to go ahead and you're going to want to follow them because basically every Sunday we'll just post and be like, we released the episode.
We'll be like, what's up? I pull up to the after party. And the after party is Instagram and Twitter. You can go check our posts up there. Every time we post an episode, there's a post on there. So if you ever reach a Sunday and then you forget about the fact that we release these episodes, but you're just scrolling through Instagram, you're going to want to follow us because you'll get the reminder.
So the Instagram works twofold because it can either be a pre-party or an after-party. It can either be...
That's true.
It can either be, it's Sunday morning, you're scrolling the web, and this Instagram post reminds you, oh, it's time to listen to the craft services episode. Or the more standard approach would be you wake up Sunday morning already ready to listen to the new craft services episode.
Right.
And then you listen to it as quickly as humanly possible. I'm not saying you increase the speed. I'm just saying you get it into your body as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, once that content is run out, sort of as like a celebration of life, you go into the Instagram.
Wow. A celebration of life.
You go into Instagram and you're like, well, I have nowhere left to go. The only possible way I can entertain myself a
Trent,
little bit
I don't mean to interrupt you, but we have reached 15 minutes almost of recording.
I think my point's been made.
Yeah.
You can listen to the episode and then look at the post and be like, yeah, or watch it or look at it before. Either way, Parth has heard enough.
Yes. Thank you so much to the listener and more importantly to Jeff White. Make sure to check us out next week for Jeff White, Part 3.